Last page, page 6 of your fall semester exam review. Okay, so these word problems, there's quite a few that are similar, so I probably will only go over just a couple of them. All right, going on to the right side, number 25. So the Pep Squad held a soda sale. The number of Sprite sold was 3 less than twice the number of Big Red sold. Pep Squad sold a total of 60 Sprites, and Big Red, how many Sprites are sold? Okay, so here you're only actually interested in just how many Sprites, all right? But there is going to be two variables. We don't know how many Sprites, and we also don't know how many Big Reds. First thing you should do is start underlining some important information, okay? So the number of Sprites sold was, this word was or is, this means an equal sign, okay? And then 3 less than twice the number of Big Red sold, okay? Pep Squad sold a total of 60 Sprites and Big Red. What that means is the Sprites and Big Reds added together should give you 60. Okay, so let's label variables. We'll do S is equal to the Sprites, and then B for Big Red. Just realize if it is on the test and it gives you answer choice of just X and Y, then yes, you're going to have to label Sprites as X, Big Red as B. Okay, all right, so the first one, first equation is the one that's a little bit hard, just because you have to figure out, okay, what does 3 less than twice the number of Big Red mean, okay? Well, the number of Sprites sold was, that means, okay, so S, or number of Sprites sold, so S was or equals, and then 3 less than twice the number of Big Red. Okay, well, twice the number of Big Red, that's just labeled as 2B, okay? Twice the number of Big Red, and then 3 less than, that means, okay, well, what's 3 less than anything? You have to subtract 3, okay? So you're subtracting 3 from that. All right, there's your first equation. Next equation, basically it's a total, okay? So a total of 60 altogether. So if you add S plus B is equal to a total of 60, okay? Now you got a system of equations, okay? This system of equations is already set up for substitution. So if you were to substitute the S in, it's 2b minus 3 for the S in the other equation. So put parentheses around it. Okay? So let's rewrite the second equation. Instead of writing S plus B is equal to 60, we got 2b minus 3 is plus B, and then you got to have the plus B is equal to 60. Okay, so it's the same equation, we're just substituting in. Okay, we want to combine like terms, so we are going to, since there's nothing to distribute in this parentheses, we basically can just get rid of those parentheses. All right, so 2b plus b, that's going to give you 3b. Okay, so we'll have 3b minus 3 is equal to 60. All right, and let me go up here to have a little more room to work. Alright, 3b minus 3 is equal to 60. Okay, this is solve for b. We want to add 3 on both sides to get that away from the b. That leaves you with 3b is equal to 60 plus 3 is going to give you 63. And then dividing by 3. Okay, so the last step is divide by 3 on both sides. You get b is equal to 63 divided by 3 is going to give you 21. Okay. Now that represents the number of Big Reds sold, but we don't want the number of Big Reds, do we? We want the number of Sprites. So what we're going to do is take that 21 and substitute it in for one of the equations to solve for S. In my opinion, the first equation will be the easiest to use because S is already by itself. Okay, so I'm running out of room here, so I think I'm going to have to zoom in a little bit, and I'm going to rewrite this equation. So let me separate this. We got S is equal to 2b minus 3. And if you run out of room, just grab another sheet of paper. All right. The b you can substitute in for 21. Okay, so the number of Sprites is equal to 2 times 21 minus 3. All right, well, 2 times 21 is going to give you 42. So S is equal to 42 minus 3, which is equal to 39. Okay, so your final answer will be 39 sprites were sold. Remember, a word problem always requires a word answer. And actually, let me do this in different colors so it stands out. All right, 39 is going to be our final answer there. All right, 39 sprites were sold. Okay, so yes, it does take a little bit, but as long as you come up with your two equations, then it should be somewhat easier for you, because then all you got to do is just solve for substitution. All right, going on to 26. A plumber A charges $65 per hour for labor plus $30 for equipment. Okay, so this is going to be an equation by itself. So I am just going to use y and x for this one. Okay, so this type of problem, you're always going to have a y equals, because you're going to have a total. Y represents a total. So y equals, and then remember $65 in this word per, or the word each, or the word an. Okay, so it could be like $65 an hour, or per hour, or each hour. This represents a variable, remember. That means you connect the 65 to a variable. Okay, I'm going to use y and x, so that way if you want you can use your calculators. All right, so this is going to be 65x, and then we have this plus a $30 for equipment. That's not $30 per hour, that's just $30 that you just have to add on to your total cost. Okay, and then plumber B charges $50 per hour for labor plus $60 for equipment. Okay, so the next one's going to be y equals, and then $50 per hour, that means 50x, and then the labor is plus 60. Okay, then it says, after how many hours will the two plumbers cost the same amount? Okay, so this is all you have to do, is take the first equation and set it equal to the second equation. Okay, so off to the right here, we're going to have 65x plus 30 is equal to 50x plus 60. Okay, and then you just want to solve for the x. So the first step here is to get the x's on the same side. So I'm going to subtract 50x here, subtract 50x to the other side. So 65 minus 50x is going to give you 15x plus 30 is equal to 60. Then get the 30 on the other side with the 60. So you're going to do the opposite of that, and you're going to subtract 60. Or I'm sorry, subtract 30 on both sides. So that will give you 15x on the left side is left, and that is equal to 30. Then the last step is to divide by 15 on both sides, and that gives you x is equal to 2. And if you go back to your problem, you know that x does stand for the number of hours, because the variable we chose to have like $65 per hour and $50 per hour, that means that that represents the x, okay? So the variable that represents the hours. So the answer to this is going to be after 2 hours, the two companies will cost the same. All right. Going on to 27, the perimeter of a rectangle is 36 centimeters, okay? So perimeter, remember perimeter of a rectangle is going to be 2L, so perimeter is equal to 2L plus 2W, okay? All right, the length of the rectangle can be represented by x minus 2, and the width can be represented by 4x minus 5. What are the dimensions of this rectangle in centimeters? Okay, so we want to know the length, and we want to know the width. Before we can figure that out, what we have to do is we have to figure out what x is equal to. Okay, so we are going to put these x minus 2 and 4x minus 5 into our equation, and we're going to solve for what the x is. Then we can plug the x back in and find our dimensions. Okay, so we know the perimeter is 36. Okay, so you are going to have 36 as the p, and the L can be represented as x minus 2, and the W can be represented as 4x minus 7. Okay, so I'm going to write this backwards so that way all of our variables are on the left side. Okay, so instead of 2L, we're going to have 2 times x minus 2. Let's put minus 2, there we go. And then we're going to have a plus 2 times, instead of 2 times W, we're going to substitute in a 4x minus 5. And what is all this equal to? Well, it's equal to the perimeter, which is 36. Okay, and now just distribute and then get the x's together, get the numbers on the other side, and figure out what the x is equal to. So if we distribute this 2 to the x minus 2, you're going to get a 2x minus 4. And then the 2, positive 2 to the other parentheses, we're going to get a plus 8x, and then a minus 10. Okay, and that is equal to 36. All right, well, let's combine like terms. Have a 2x and an 8x. That's going to give you 10x. And then you have a minus 4 and a minus 10. That'll give you minus 14. And that is equal to 36. Okay? And let me rewrite this up top to get a little more room. 10x minus 14 is equal to 36. Oops, 36. Okay, so first we got to get rid of the 14. So you add 14 on both sides. That's going to get rid of the 14s on the left. Then you got 10x is equal to 50. 36 plus 14 is 50. And then the last step is to divide by 10 on both sides. And that gives you x is equal to 5. Now we did solve for x, but the question asks, what are the dimensions? Okay, what are the dimensions of this rectangle? Okay, so what we have to do is we have to go back to our equation. Our perimeter is equal to 2L plus 2W, except now we have to plug in what x is equal to. So for the length, we're going to use x minus 2. So the length, or the L, is equal to, instead of x minus 2, we're going to substitute in 5 minus 2, which is equal to 3. And then the W is going to be, instead of 4x, we're going to have 4 times 5 minus 5. That's going to, 4 times 5 is going to be 20, and then 20 minus 5 is going to give you 15. So this problem is a little bit backwards. The width is longer, but that's okay. It's all about solving. So the length is going to be, so 3 is equal to the length, and 15 is the width. And I know this got smushed, but that's okay. You can rewind the video and watch it again. All right, going on to the last problem. Okay. San Antonio cab charges $3 per mile plus an $8 ride fee, and Uber charges $5 per mile with no ride fee. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this problem up for you, and then if you refer back to, which problem was that? Back to problem 26, you will be able to figure out what you're supposed to do from there. Okay, so once again, the hardest part is setting up your equations. Then from there, it should be smooth sailing. So San Antonio cab charges $3 per hour plus an $8 ride fee. Okay, so that is going to be, you're still going to have a y and an x, so y is equal to $3 per hour means 3x, or I'm sorry, $3 per mile means 3x, that word per, plus an $8 ride fee, so plus 8. And your next equation is going to be a y equals, and then we're going to have a $5 per mile, and then there's a no ride fee, okay? So $5 per mile means 5x, that word per. And since there's no ride fee, I do not have to put plus anything. If you put plus 0, it's really needless. You don't need to put plus 0. Okay, and then after how many hours do the companies charge the same amount? This is where number 26, if you just refer back to there, you'll know what to do. You just set these equations equal. So I can set 3x plus 8 is equal to 5x, and then you solve for x. Get what x is equal to, and then that is the number of miles it takes for the two companies to cost the same. All right, this completes your semester exam review.